Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. Thank you for your patience. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in about 1 minute, so please bear with us 1 more minute. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar where our Principal Developer Evangelist Renè Winkelmeyer is joining us to give you a great introduction to Process and App Builder. My name is Christy Fedura, and I'm the Director of Marketing for EMEA Developer Relations, and I'm also your host for today's event. You can see all of our upcoming virtual, live, and on-demand events on the events calendar found on developer.salesforce.com. You can also find the recordings of our webinar, of all of our webinars, on the Salesforce Developers YouTube channel, usually within 1 week after the event. Today's event is being recorded, and we will be uploading it soon to that YouTube channel I just mentioned. So please be sure to stay in touch with us on all of our social media channels that you see here. Today's event does feature a Q&A session, so be sure to post any questions you have about the content in the questions panel, and Renee's going to answer those at the end of the webinar. We love to hear your feedback, so please do take our super short survey, which will be shown to you at the conclusion of today's event. And with that, let's get started. Over to you, Renè.
Okay, welcome to the introduction to App Builder and Process Builder. My name is Renè Winkelmeyer, and in the next 20-ish minutes, I want to give you an introduction how you can use those tools and what they actually mean for users as well as for developers and admins within a Salesforce environment. App Builder and Process Builder, we have them both on the slide and over here. They're not directly related to each other, but they are really important tools to understand and know when you want to craft applications on the Salesforce platform. Personally, myself as a developer, I have a strong history in customizing many different systems. And it was always, I wouldn't say impossible, but it wasn't not really easy to customize because you have to write an application, you have to deploy that, someone has to check that, you want to change the user interface, you're updating that, you're deploying that again, someone has to check that. And with App Builder on the Lightning platform, you actually get the capability to customize the user interface without coding, which I think as a developer is pretty neat, as I can really focus on the important part on crafting sophisticated applications. The same is for Process Builder. I've written so many integrations on so many systems where an interaction happened and I had to update something in the database, right? That always involved custom code, or a record got updated in a database and I had to send an email. That was always writing some code. Now with Process Builder, you get a declarative interface, a point-and-click interface, where you don't have to code, where you can just run many different interactions, and we will see some of that later in the demo. Now let's first start with App Builder, right? App Builder is a visual tool. You know, what you see is what you get, and that's real. It's built on the Lightning platform, and it allows you to customize the user interface on app pages, on record pages, and home pages, communities, and many other environments on the Lightning platform. And it's really easy to use with drag and drop. You can customize properties of components and a few other things. As you see here on the left side, we have a Lightning Components bar. So let's talk a bit about that. The Lightning platform itself uses Lightning components, either written with the Aura programming model or written with the Lightning Web Component programming model. And there are 3 different categories. First, there are standard components. That means components that we as Salesforce provide to you. And those are the most used, most requested components. They also offer different kinds of integrations, which would be like, really hard to build. So, we provide them that everyone can leverage them. In addition to that, you can have custom components, right? So if you have developers in your company, they're writing their custom components. That's great. You can use them within Lightning App Builder so that an admin can then customize a user interface for the users based on the business requirements. If you don't have developers in-house, you can also go to the App Exchange, where partners of us just build many different kinds of components that you can also just install into your Salesforce environment and then reuse in the what you see is what you get environment here in App Builder. And we'll see some of that also later. What I personally really love is that you get a real-time preview in App Builder, especially when you have an application that you want to run on desktop and on mobile. It's not really a lot of fun if you, as mentioned before, you're writing something, you have to deploy that, and you have to check on a mobile device, how does it look like? Okay, now I'm going back. Now, with the capabilities of App Builder, you just see that directly while you design the application on your desktop. And this is pretty powerful because it gives you a much more faster time to market than an environment where you have to have many manual steps. Now, I mentioned before customization, and we will see a bit of that. The UI within the Salesforce org is not static. So there are different kinds of page types or templates that we offer, like 2-column, 3-column layouts. So you can really make the UI your own, or even better said, as your users need that, right? So, if you have a standard in your company where you have a specific kind of information always on the left side in the left narrow column, no problem, there's a template for that. If you have a component that needs full screen, no problem, there's a template for that. Now, having said that, I mentioned before that you can use custom built components in App Builder, and I will show that also later a bit in Visual Studio Code. You can really customize how and when your custom components can be used with an App Builder. For example, in this XML-based metadata definition, you see that this component is only available on record pages. So as developer, you can really control where an admin can actually use the custom component that you built. And this metadata definition file even narrows the use case a bit more, because this component, which is using this definition, can only be used on a record page, and only if that record belongs to objects of type property, right? So you can really narrow that down, and with that also create a real customized user experience. Having said that, slides are great, but I think demos are even better. What I prepared here for you is our e-bikes sample application. This is our Lightning Web, one of our Lightning Web Component sample applications, where you can see different parts for application development, but as well as for using the declarative capabilities like App Builder. Now, in this example, I have a standard list view, and I'm going into my products view over here. And what you see here is 2 things. We have a standard record interface, and on the right side, I have a custom Lightning Web Component, which just got added to this page. Now the question is, how would you do that? How would you actually get to App Builder? Now, when you click the cog over here, you can just go to Edit Page, and with that, just customize the application, right? So you see my standard details, and on the right side, my similar products custom Lightning Web Component. What you also see is when I click between the different components which are on this page, you see that the properties here change. So this component has no properties, but what I can do here is I can actually filter it. And filtering means depending on a field value or maybe other things like another field. For example, I could say, is a specific user or does the current user have a specific set of permissions? I can control if this component is visible or invisible to the current logged in user, which is pretty powerful, right? You don't have to code that. Someone can just declaratively change that, which also frees developers from adding more and more overhead to their own custom components. Now let's actually not do that, because I want to show you another example where I have some more capabilities besides just setting the visibility. Now I'm leaving App Builder for that, and let's actually go to reseller orders. So let me quickly create a new order. I'm just selecting an account, let's say Wheelworks. And here I see a couple of elements. I see a standard details page. I see a custom component where I can drag over bikes, where I can't drag over bikes. It seems that I forgot to set a property in App Builder for that. So let's actually edit this page, and again, no custom coding. And this component over here has a few custom properties. Search by visible, I think that would be really easy. Oh, great. I get a live preview over here that I have now a search field, right? So let's actually deselect that, select that. Oh, amazing. I think that's a much better user experience. And as I want to drag bikes over, let's make them actually draggable. And let's see, how would that look like on the phone? No, this user interface would not rock a lot. Yeah, and you see also it's not supported for this form factor, which is also a great capability of App Builder. If a developer has crafted a Lightning Web Component or an Aura component that is not defined for mobile, you see that directly before you would deploy that to your users, and they will hit this message in production. So let me go back to the desktop use case, because that's what it was built for. I'm going to save this because I changed the properties over here. I'm going back, and I get a search key. So this is much better. I can actually search for a bike, and I can now drag over my components. Now, you saw those custom properties. Now let's look a bit of code, how you would actually build that. I mentioned before that we have the metadata definition file, and this is the very minimum version that you would have for a Lightning Web Component, where you define for sure the API version, but as well if this component is exposed to be used within App Builder. And this component is just a tile. It says, no, you can't use it in App Builder. But the product tile list, which I just customized in App Builder, has a longer metadata definition file. It allows more capabilities. First of all, the exposure is set to true. So an admin can actually use this component in App Builder and drag it, in this example, on an app page, record page, or home page. But even more, just within this XML file, the developer can define that when this component is used on a Lightning record page, they have extra configuration capabilities, like is the search bar visible or are the product tiles are draggable, right? So this is really how you can customize Lightning Web Component and how it should be used or can be used on a record page, home page, or an app page, for example, which is and close the standard components, and have a couple of custom components I'm just dragging over here. A product card, and I want to have a product tile list, some more products visible, that's great. And you see that I don't have a filter component, right? So I don't have the search bar because it's not defined for an app page. It's only available for the record page. But I think this product filter over here, that is even better than just a search bar. Now, what you see here is also we have 3 custom components that don't have to do anything with each other, right? I just drag them, could be something else. Now, can those be used with each other? So let's try. When I click an image here, oh, amazing. I just, selected 3 whatever components, and they were able to communicate with each other, even if they are their own custom instances of a component, which is, I think, a real powerful feature that you can offer all your administrators as a developer, that they can, just craft their own custom application experiences with that. Now, we also want to talk about Process Builder. So what is Process Builder? Process Builder is a tool that really enables a streamlined process automation utilizing the power of the Lightning platform. And with it, you can manage object-related processes at scale without writing a single line of code. And as a developer, I don't always want to hear that I shouldn't write code, but I also I really don't want to write code for simple tasks that can be just automated with a visual tool, right? And using the built-in actions, if-then statements, and other capabilities, you can really build powerful functionality. And again, without writing a single line of code. So let's look at some of the things that you can do. First of all, you have the capability, and you see that here on the left side of the screen, you have an if-else capability. So you can set conditions when specific actions, either ad hoc or on schedule, would be executed. And there are some actions available, and you see create record and update records in this list. Also for summer, something is new, we're adding quip actions. So, really repetitive tasks, things that are really often in business processes, can be just automated without writing code. Now, sometimes you have to write code because we can't build integrations or a dialog list for every possible thing. Now, Process Builder has also the great capability to invoke Apex code. So if you have custom code that is doing some sophisticated action within your Salesforce environment, you can use invocable methods with an Apex, and this is an example for posting something to Slack, where you can just execute any Apex code that you want. If it's talking to another system like here, if it's updating multiple records or whatever you would do within your Apex code, you can give your administrators an interface using invocable methods so that they can just say, okay, my account record's updated, and if a specific field value is set, I'm executing an action. Now again, let's see Process Builder for that in action. I am over here, and Process Builder, you can find this one in Setup. So let me quickly Process Builder here. Process Builder is one of our many automation offerings within the Lightning Flow family. It is, I wouldn't say the simplest one, but it offers capabilities for many smaller processes. So I'm giving a process name, for example, post price update. And I want to execute that when record changes. Now, post price update has a reason why I'm saying that. When I go into my product explorer over here, I've also, and we've been there, my products list. Now, let me check the product over here. And with here, I have a special sale price field, right? So what I want to do is actually, if someone enters a special price, I want to send a notification with Cheddar, for example. Now, let's go back to Process Builder. And the first step is you have to select an object because I want to react when something with an object changes. And in this case, I have the product that changes. And I want to run this, when a record is created or edited, right? It could also be that someone is adding a special price just when they create a new product. Okay, that sounds great. So let's save this. Now I can add my own criteria. And this criteria is like special price changes. Right? This is really simple example. You can run formulas for that. You can always execute that. So always when the record changes. But I want to say I have this condition, and this condition should be if my special sale price field, let's say it's just changed, right? It's always when that changes, I want to do something, and I don't need any special conditions in this case. So I don't have a reason that more conditions are met or multiple if-else statements, because I've just as you can see, one condition. So let's save this, and I can just easily add an action. And this could be executing Apex, setting email alert, running quick actions, doing something with Quip. But in this example, I just want to post to Chatter. So let's do this. Give it a name, inform special price. And I want to post that. Let's make it easy for me. I just want to send it to my current user. And as I'm in a scratch org, I'm using my user. Now, this message that I'm going to send can be something like just special price changed. Price changed. There we go. But also can use now fields from the record, which is pretty cool, right? So I say, okay, special sale price. And I want to say, I want to use another field because, if I'm informing about a special price, I should know with bike. So another cool feature is you can access record data within this declarative tool for your processes. Now let's save this. And that looks good. I'm listening for product changes, always when the special price changes. And I want to have a chatter post to my user. So I'm going to activate this. Yes, you can only have one version available. So let's do that. Perfect. I'm going to edit this record, and let's say 1,800. It's pre-summer sale, right? So we just changed that to 1,500. I'm going to save that. It was saved. And when I go to Chatter, you can instantly see that it was posted, right? So processes that you run with Process Builder run directly, which gives you a near real-time experience for that. Okay, so quick introduction to Process Builder. If you want to learn more about those, we have a couple of modules and units and also trails on Trailhead, right? So just search for Lightning App Builder, and that will give you a ton of information and modules that you can revisit for learning about App Builder. And within the Lightning Flow family, you can learn about approvals, about Process Builder, as well as Flow Builder, which is the, let's say, big brother version of Process Builder for your automation needs. And with that, I want to thank you and open for Q&A, Christy.
Awesome. That was great, Renè. Thank you so much. We do have quite a few questions, so I'm excited to share those with you. We have the first question is going to be, where can I find out more about writing Process Builder actions? Is that referencing back to the Trailhead module you just mentioned?
Yes. So this will be, you can find that definitely in Trailhead, but also in the official documentation. So as you saw, and I'm just going back to the let me quickly go back to Process Builder. So you can see that the actions that you can execute over here, just go around, because seeing is always better than running just a slide, is the actions that you see over here. Those are just only those that are available. As I mentioned before, it offers a specific set of actions. So you also can't customize or add another type of action if you really want to do that, right? If you have a special type, if you have the requirement that you want to, run external callouts to external web services, and this is something that you need to do regularly, then this is where you would need some Apex code which you can then use within Process Builder, right? But the list is pretty simple, pretty short, I would say. So let's go just to another Process Builder and open that for you. Good, just the test name, and when record changes, so I can let's do a count over here, because I imagine there will be a few more questions coming up about this. I want to run this always. Do another short name. And this is really the list again, right? So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is really the things that you can do. And I mean, create record, post to chatter, processes, submit for approval, update records. Those are just standard things that you would do anyway, or really often within an environment.
So Renè, along those lines, we have another question that says, when you define an action within the Process Builder, you can set further conditions and criteria. Are they equal to the criteria that you set initially?
Yeah, I assume those criteria I meant. I assume those criteria, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so when you define criteria, you have control over the flow and the criteria themselves. So in this example, I would just say, run the criteria is right, run always. That means this process always goes to the right line and just executes the action that I have set up over here. Now, when you want to have more granular control, or your business requirement just dictate that, you can either define based on simple field values. For example, let's say whatever name, account name, and then equals whatever, Winkelmeyer Corp. So you just want to run this on the specific account, and you can add more conditions for that, right? So all of them, or you can even be more specific and define a formula or an OR clause, right? And this, and you have full control, just like not only this or the second decision matrix. You can actually go, I wouldn't say unlimited, because that would make the process at some point unusable for you to manage, but you can add a lot of different steps to actually really refine the criteria that you want to use.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Renè. So let's go back to one of our very first questions. Is there any way to display more than 30 records from the list view in the app builder?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so that's a finite number. Thank you. Okay, so this is a really interesting question, because I think a lot of people have questions about best practices, Renè. So this person says, should you still use the workflow when you could do the same with the Process Builder? So is there a best practice? And I think you alluded to that before, but what is your hardcore reason that you would use one versus the other?
It's always a good question, right? So, so sometimes it's hard to differentiate that. And we have across workflow, Process Builder, and Lightning Flow, a few functionality overlap, right? So at the end, if you have to use things, or if you have different tools that have the same kind of functionality, I would personally recommend, if possible, Process Builder, or if not, even going further, even Lightning Flow. Right, this is just my personal. But I know also environments where people say, okay, I just do what I can in workflow, right, and don't touch Process Builder at all, or not often. Or some people do everything in Flow, Lightning Flow, and try to not to use Process Builder because they just want to use one tool to do the job. So it sometimes really depends on what your company wants to do. And
it sounds like it depends as well as to what you're more comfortable using.
Also, yeah. I mean, you see, Process Builder is really easy to handle. Lightning Flow is much bigger.
Yeah.
Right. It's much bigger, more to learn, but it's equally more powerful. So it's really upping your game when you go up the stage of the different workflow tools that you find on the Lightning platform.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Here's a really interesting one. I love this question. What if, for the special price, you want to have a time delay before it posts to Chatter instead of an immediate action?
Well, there is something which is called set schedule, right? It's just the for the schedule actions. So you can set a schedule for like days or hours, let's say, or maybe, you know, let's in this case like 5 hours from now, right? And once I save this, then I can set an action. So you don't have to have an immediate action. So in the special price case, I would say like the special price happens, oh, that's great, I don't have immediate action, but 5 hours after it happened, I'm running an action, right? And this action would be then post to chatter.
Ah, nice.
Right? So it's the same control, and you define really for each flow, for each step in this process, if you want to have an immediate action, which sometimes is really needed, like updating records, or if you want to have scheduled actions that are delayed for a couple of hours or maybe, you know, days.
Fabulous. I love that. So here's a new question. Can I build applications using Process Builder or just processes related to existing apps and their objects?
The latter, right?
So
this is just really
processes related to existing apps and their objects.
Exactly. You can also use it with platform events. So if you want to have an event-driven process architecture, so you know something's creating a platform event, and then it triggers the process within Process Builder, right? This is just the trigger or the execution reason for that, but it's not building an app, right? You don't have a special user interface. It's really for defining your process, as the name says.
Great, thank you. We've got a new question. Do flows from the Process Builder trigger when making bulk changes through? So for example, the date loader.
I think so. There's no reason why it shouldn't. I mean, at the end, and you really have to watch out for circular dependencies when you do that, like field update and evaluations. So it's, you know, depending on what you do, it's sometimes good to disable process if you want to do bulk upload of a specific record set, because you don't want to have 15,000 processes just because you import data.
Okay, perfect. This is a question about the all option in Process Builder. Can you please explain the all option in Process Builder?
The all option? I am not sure which.
Yeah, I think we might need some more detail around that one. So let's see if the person gives us some more in the questions panel. This is kind of a wild one. Can we modify the Process Builder?
No.
No.
Short? No.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
I mean, one thing that I want to add to general Process Builder, because as a developer, I mentioned that before, it's always great to write code, because many of the things that are happening here, you can also write code for that. The real power of using a declarative tool like this is that it gets maintained from us 3 times a year. We're adding new things. We are making sure that whatever is crafted via Process Builder, so all processes always get the greatest and latest enhancements just under the hood, compared to code that you just have to adapt, right? So it's, for me, is when I do stuff in an org, it's always for me, okay, do I have to write code, or is it something where I can involve any of the declarative tools, because they just handle everything for me with every release, and
it saves a lot of time. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, perfect. This is a really interesting question. How can we send an email based on a task due by the Process Builder? So that's a date-related question, right? So the task is due by a certain date. How can we send an email based on that date?
Yeah, for that you would need something like scheduled Apex, for example, right? So yeah, for that we would need something like scheduled Apex. I think that's potentially possible with Flow, but that would be more a question for some of my admin evangelist colleagues who are more into that kind of tooling.
Okay, cool. Is the draggable the default feature available in the action under the lightning component. And sorry, I don't have any more details on that. So I'll just read it one more time. Is the default feature available in the action under lightning component?
No.
No.
So the question is, it was about this draggable component that we had within the reseller orders. So this functionality over here, right, where we just dragged and just did the component thing, right, and move components over here. This is not a standard feature. So if you want to do that, actually, you have to develop that.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that. Can we execute an action only if a field value changes from X to Y, old to new?
Could you please repeat that? Sorry.
How can we send an email based on task due by Process Builder? Or did I just, I'm sorry, I just asked that. Can we execute an action only if a field value changes from X, which is the old, to Y, which is the new? So can you execute an action only if a field value changes from old to new?
Yes. Let me quickly. Well, in that case, you will likely have to run also an Apex trigger if you want to have a comparison between old and new, because Process Builder just knows the new value in this case, so you can't run the comparison, right? So in this case, so if I would have the case of my special price in this case, I couldn't do a selection or criteria check for what is the old and what is the new value, right? So it just runs on the new value, once it got saved to the Salesforce database.
Nice. Okay, so the last question I'm going to answer myself, Renee, and you can join me if you have more detail. Someone has written in to ask if we have any resources other than Trailhead, which covers the app builder concept. So of course we do have lots and lots of interesting material that will teach you and train you and skill you up on app builder in Trailhead, and we do recommend that you go there first. Renee also talked about release notes, and there's other documentation available. And there's also lots and lots of great content on developer.salesforce.com, where our developer evangelists like Renee are delivering blogs and how-to content that's all there for you to review and sort of get familiar with. Renee, is there any place else that we should send this person to look for more information?
No, I would say Trailhead is the best place, because also in the modules you find references to other documentation or to the general documentation how to use those tools.
Perfect. Okay, so Renee, I'm going to let you go now. You've been an absolute superstar. This was a fantastic webinar. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to everyone who's attending. We hope that you enjoyed the event. As I said before, the recording of this particular event will be posted on the Salesforce Developers official YouTube channel. So I do recommend that you go and find that and have a look at all of our great recorded content that is posted there. And we look forward to seeing you at another webinar very soon. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.
Bye.